I might have to do this a couple of times. Hi everyone, my name's Faye and I'm an abstract artist and I currently live in the northeast of England. So I predominantly use acrylic paint on canvas. I usually like to work quite large format, so the bigger the canvas the better. I really like just to get messy and just to experiment with new techniques. I feel like I know my style and what I know works best visually to me. So I kind of just go with my instincts with every piece. If I have like an idea of what I want it to look like, I'll go in with that idea, but kind of be open to the painting telling me what it wants to look like. So yeah, I kind of experiment with acrylic. I have done a little bit of oil before, but I don't think that's my thing. It might be in the future, you never know, but that's just what I feel most comfortable with. I use a lot of black and white. Well, black and cream. I like it to be a bit off-white because I think it gives it a certain look compared to white. I don't know what that is. It's just something in my brain. Yeah, and I do use colour sometimes for like effect. So if I wanted to really portray something, I'll use a certain colour. And I think it adds like this extra depth to my work when I do use like a pop of pink or red, or I use like a stone, because it really brings out like a personality in the painting. Yeah.
Do you use specific colors or do you use any color?
There's certain colours that I would like lean in towards. So in the summer I used a lot of pink and I used a lot of red, but I'll only use that like in a small amount alongside my usual black and cream. I like to keep like a consistency, so I'll add bits of colour here and there, but I'll use colours that speak to me. So within this new series, I'm going to use more like earthly tones. So I want to use more stone colours. I want to go out into nature and find tones that really speak to like my soul. I would never use like a really like crash like neon colour, because I just feel like that is just not me at all. I kind of want my personality to be like visually represented within the paintings, if that makes sense. Yeah.
Totally. I want to go back now to maybe like the younger years, or when maybe things started to click, because I know, I think you've told me in the past, or I might have like seen it on Instagram and stuff, about like you've always been a really creative person and you were always drawing and making art. Am I right? Yeah.
Yeah.
What in your personal life has influenced you to choose the career that you have?
I think the main catalyst for choosing the career that I have is when I met my boyfriend Louis. He was such a creative soul, like he had so much spirit, and I feel like I grew up with that same spirit, but over time it was kind of, I don't want to say like knocked out of me, but I kind of did lose my passion a little bit. Going through like sixth form and going into university, I just wasn't really sure what I wanted to do. I knew it was a creative path, but I wasn't 100% sure if it was going to be art or really like what I wanted to pursue. So when I met Louis, he was an aspiring like producer. He'd never had a release, but he was like making music and he ran music events, and he started to make music and I would draw the artworks, like the album artworks, to go with them, because he'd seen like my drawings up around the house and stuff, and he said, if you've got this talent, like why don't you help me with my stuff? So I bought an iPad and I started to do a lot of digital drawings, and it just really like rejuvenated my passion for art. And I'd always been creative, but that was like the first step of this career that I've ended up like pursuing in abstract art. Whereas these artworks that I made were very like they were very like, I don't know how to say it, illustrative, I think that's the right word. And they were very like not my vibe now, but that was like the beginning of my process. So to do like these album artworks, then people would commission me to do artworks for them. And then as I went through university studying fashion, which is completely different to what I'm doing now, I based all of my projects around my art. and I ended up setting up my business during that university like period, and ran the art business alongside doing my degree, and then started doing these large abstract painting works, and that just went from there. I kind of knew in my soul what I wanted to do, and it got round to my last year in university, and we had to like do a big project about our future, and that's when I really like took the leap to say, I'm just gonna go for it and do these paintings, even though I'd never actually painted before.
Really?
I'd always like done drawings, but I just thought it feels like right to me to paint, and I just went for it and I did it, and it's turned out absolutely amazing. I feel like I just really trusted my intuition and said, I know I can do this, so I just went for it.
That's awesome.
Thanks.
I don't know if I knew that about the album covers.
Yeah, so it was like he would create a song, and then I would in turn create like
a
visual to go on Instagram. And that kind of helped him grow as well, because I was creating artworks that people had never seen before,
right.
And it was like a visual aid to his song, and it was really fun. Like that was such a good time for us both, because we were both growing as humans, we were following our passions. Like he really helped me along with realizing like my potential. And I'm not gonna say it's all down to him, because because it's not, but it really did like help like spark that true belief that, you know, like if I can do this for you, I can do this for other people, I can do this for myself.
Yeah.
And that was like, I think it was the main like starting point in what's ended up being this business.
Did you like what so you said you got an iPad, were you using like Adobe Illustrator or like?
No, I've got an app called Procreate.
Okay.
And it's just got like loads of brushes on, and it's a really good starting point for like anyone that wants to experiment with like digital illustration. You can do so much. Like I used to do like kind of realistic portraits on there as well. I did this one when we were in Mexico. He was working like when we were on vacation, and I decided I would do a portrait of Rihanna.
Okay.
I don't know why. I just thought I'm just going to pass the time. And it was actually like, it was the first time I felt really proud of like a portrait that I'd done. And then I went on a bit of a tangent with portraits. I did a lot of portrait work. And then that was all before I started painting.
And these were all just like, you would look up either like tutorials on how to use the software, and then like were you just like kind of setting yourself these challenges of like, okay, let me practice, like this was all because that's what, like you went to school for fashion, and I think they do, I bet there is so much that you have learned, and we've talked about this like off camera, like elements of that in the people you met that have influenced your career and what you're doing now, but like you kind of set these like own homework and like its own program for you, I guess, in a way.
Yeah, so obviously I was studying fashion as my degree, and the course that I did, it was very much like photography, it was videography, it was journalism. And you know what? I absolutely thrive doing that kind of stuff, and I really find that comes through in my content creation.
Yeah.
Because I really like to think of ways to market my art in like a really soulful way. And luckily I've got the the capacity to do a photo shoot or to do a video and really like capture my like vision. So everything has like came in handy from my degree, and I've still got a major like feeling that I will do something with fashion. And as part of my art brand, I am going to do clothing, and I've got a really big collaboration coming up with a clothing brand, and then I'm going to branch off and do my own. So I feel like everything's just going to come round and like come full circle in everything that I really love about art and expression, and it's all just going to come together in like the most beautiful way. Yeah.
I think it's like one thing I've realized is like I love talking to artists, and the more I learn about art and artists, it's like it's not like if it's someone's like job, like this is just who you are as a person. And like it seems as though the more like creatives I talk to, no matter what their medium is, it's like this is every part of their life contributes to it. Every part of their life kind of revolves around it as well. Like,
yeah, I used to really struggle with putting my art out there because it is such like a personal thing. I'm literally putting my heart and soul out for people to judge. And at the beginning, I really did struggle with putting my art like on Instagram, on TikTok, like on social media, because it's just, you're putting yourself out there for scrutiny. And when you put like everything that you believe in on a canvas and you put it out there, people could say anything about it. They could hate it, they could love it. Now I find it really kind of nice when someone hates it, because I'm like, that's good, because I've invoked a strong emotion. Like, someone else could really love it, and I'm like, that is amazing too, but I know how I feel about it, and that's kind of all that matters to me. But I really love like the connection that it brings to people, because I could feel a certain way about an artwork. Someone else could look at it and feel something completely different because of their own experiences, and then we've got a connection between like this shared visual experience that is the artwork, and it's really beautiful to like our stories like merge together. And yeah, I really love that aspect of it.
Even like I think about, I remember before I even like talked to you, I obviously had seen your Instagram and like knew what the event was going to be about. So I had like a bit of an idea, but I remember I walked around and I looked at all of your art, and like, I won't go on a tangent about this so much, but I was like, holy cow. First off, this girl is so fucking cool. Like, she can, one, make this art, but then the more that I'd look at the art and then like come to how it would make me feel, what it would make me think about, etc. Then I'd read your little like descriptions and I'd be like, oh my God, this girl's even cooler. Like it has such a deeper meaning. But so it's such a cool thing where and then the minute once I met you, you like gave me such a nice hug, and like obviously you're a very welcoming person, but I just felt like I knew you on this deeper level because of the art, and I'm like, I don't know, I just felt like I could connect with you so much quicker, and then like obviously we met and like we hung out in real life, and it's like I just feel like we just went straight to the point. And so sometimes it's like vulnerable and things like that, but it's also, I feel like the benefit of it is like so like not like worth it, but it just it's like a really big impact.
100%. And I think, well, I've actually got a new print series coming out, and one of the prints actually says the greatest form of art is vulnerability. And it's something that I live by, just because if you're not vulnerable and you're not really like putting yourself out there, I don't think you're pushing yourself enough. Like, it is like such a vulnerable thing to put your creation out into the world, whether that's like writing, if you've wrote a book, or like Louis with his songs, or if I put an artwork out on social media or I do a show. It is so vulnerable. It is putting your heart and soul on the line, and you've just got to accept that the right people will connect with your work, and that is like the main reason and the main purpose of the work, is like for that connection, as I said before. And you know, I think you've got to think to yourself when you're putting stuff out there, is like, what is the purpose? Am I doing this solely for myself? Am I doing this so that other people can be inspired? Can like a young girl come to this show and think, you know, I actually want to do this as well? And because we're from Sunderland, and it's such like, there's like not much of an art community going on, I really want to put on these shows and make it clear that you can do this. Like, you can make a career out of your creativity. And I've done all of the I've done 2 shows, and I've done them all on my own back. I didn't rely on anyone for funding to help me out. I set it all up myself. Me, my mum, and our partner, we literally hung every single painting. And I think it's just so rewarding when people come to the show, they're inspired, they want to go and create their own stuff. There's a young girl who came to the show, and she's now, I think she's doing a GCSE or her A-levels, and she is inspired to then go on and be an artist, and she's just been entered into a a gallery show as part of our like qualification, and I seen it on Instagram, and it's just like, it's so nice to see that, especially in girls. I just really want people to realize that, you know, you can make a career on something that you absolutely love. You don't have to go and work a 9 to 5 if you don't want to. It is hard. It's the harder route, I'll tell you that. Yeah. But I think it's the most fulfilling route. Just because I've been having a lot of thoughts recently about like making your life your own, and how we can be kind of swayed to take certain paths because of what like a larger society tells us that we should. And I'm just like totally against that. I just think, you know, if I've got this feeling and this passion calling my name, why am I not going to follow that just because everyone else is working 9 to 5? My creativity and my like most energy comes on a night time, so that was never going to work for me anyways. I would be drained. And I just think you've got to work to your strengths and just like really, really follow your gut and your intuition. Yeah.
I agree with you of like, I really want to show other people that you don't have to go down the conventional path. And it is true, is even if your interest and your passion seems so absurd or like niche, I'm not saying you, but maybe other people I've had on the show or will have on the show, it's like we live in such a cool world, especially in like the Western society, like where you really can like create that. And I'm not saying that you need to like monetize all of your passions and things like that, but I just mean it's the same. Like I think we are very similar about that, of like you can create your dream life, and like whether it's your job or whether it's a relationship, your environment, etc. It's like if you really think about it and you really like sit with yourself and work on what you need to internally, like the external will come, you know?
Yeah. I agree 100%. And it doesn't just have to, as you said, it doesn't just have to be around like your passion. It could just be around like building a life that you truly feel comfortable in and that you feel safe in. And you really feel like you're making a difference every single day to yourself. And yeah, I think that's like the crux of it, really.
Earlier, you touched on your style. This is something that I think a lot of people navigate, of how do you figure out your style, whether it's your personal style, but I think I'm assuming that like figuring out your personal style will help you figure out like your art style, and I bet they're like one and the same. So what did that journey look like for you?
As I was saying before, like it has not been a linear journey. Like when I started out truly loving art, it was because I was really invested in tattoo artists on Instagram. So really? When I was like 13, 14 years old and I first went on Instagram, I was obsessed with all these like cool girl tattoo artists, and I followed them religiously. Like I wanted to be them. I wanted to be in their group. Like I used to buy all their prints, and I just thought like they were cool. Sorry, I thought they were like the coolest girls. I'm getting like excited ever. And I'd never seen that before. And I think seeing that on social media, I was like, these heavily tattooed girls just in their own lane, just creating every day.
Because hang on, did you have exposure to that in your day-to-day life?
Never.
Exactly. That's the one thing I have to say, like, social media has changed my life, because as much as it can be good and bad, which is a constant thing, but it's like, it's exposed me to things that wasn't around me that I needed or that I resonated with, right?
Yeah. And to see these women and for them to be like drawing all this cool stuff all the time, I thought, right, I'm going to start this too. I'm going to be a tattoo artist. Like, no one can stop me. Whatever my family says, I'm going to do it. I had this really like clear vision when I was 14 years old that I was going to be like this tattoo artist and have my own studio. And I remember sitting in my art class, because I'd spend every lunchtime sat in the art class, and I'd just be like working on my like whatever it was at the time. And I remember having this such clear vision of me having like my own art studio. but it was like more geared towards like tattoos at the time. And I think about it now and I'm like, I wasn't far off, you know. And this is when I was 14 years old, so this is like 10 years ago. It's kind of like manifested in a different way, and it's like grown with who I am, but it's pretty similar because of like the studios that I've had and the path that I'm on. Although it's got nothing to do with tattoos, I really felt like I was onto something, and that's when like I started to really like lean into trusting my intuition, like my creative intuition. So that's how it started. I wanted to be a tattoo artist, and then I used to post them all on my Instagram, all of my drawings, and people just didn't get it. Like my social circle did not get it. I draw like skulls with snakes coming out of them and like really dark stuff for like how old I was at the time. But I loved it, and people just didn't understand. I always felt like my style was like a bit darker. Just because I'm like a person who's as deep as the ocean, I kind of gravitated towards that side of things. And yeah, people just didn't get it. But why would they at 14 years old when I'm like, yes, I've got this passion, I'm going to be a tattoo artist? Like, yeah, it wasn't done at the time. So when everyone wore like leggings and Converse, and if you wore something different, people would be like, what is she doing? So it was really out there. I used to dress like all in black. I dyed my hair black. I had a fringe. It was really intense time, but it was just kind of me trying to find myself. And then I started to like gear more towards doing fashion, and I threw myself into textiles, and I used to create like dresses and jackets, and it was all part of like school. And then I decided to do fashion at uni, which was, I think it was a really good decision at the time because I wasn't drawing, and that was like my next best creative path. So I decided to do fashion. I did a fashion course for like 2 months where you actually made clothes, and I hated it with a capital H. Like, I lasted 2 months and I was like, I'm never coming back here. Like, it's the worst. It's the worst thing I've ever done. It was just really hard. And then the next year I decided to go back and do a different fashion course, which I talked about before. And I absolutely thrived in it. I loved it. And then in my second year, that's when I met Louis and I started doing the album artworks. And then the year after that, I went back to my old style when I was 14 and started doing all these like ink dot drawings, like tattoo style, but I would do portraits, carrying on from the digital portraits that I used to do. And I actually really loved that style, like the dot portraits, but that still didn't feel authentic to me. It still felt like a bit off. So then that's when I started looking into abstract paintings, and there was just something about the abstract kind of work that really spoke to me. So I ended up on this path, and I think I did my first abstract painting, I think it was in 2019, so actually not that long ago. And I just really like threw myself into it. So it's been like a very bumpy journey, but I feel like it was all very necessary to get to where I am now. And I know that my style probably evolve and change over time, as it does with every single artist. So I'm quite excited to see where that goes.
Me as well. But it's interesting that you've had that kind of like theme throughout your life as well, like the darkness, or like the depth we'll say.
The depth, yeah. Like I've always been so deep, like it's quite terrifying.
Yeah. I'm curious about like your creative process. What does that look like? So if you want, we don't have to talk about like the change of this environment or whatever, but do you have like a specific routine that you do? Do you have certain music you put on? Do you burn candles? Like, what does that look like?
So as I was saying off camera, I'm a very solitary person. Like I really just love having like days to myself, just to really go into a different frame of mind and go and create. So when I did have my own studio, it was like a 10-minute walk away. So on a morning, I'd get up, I'd do my morning routine, and then I'd get ready. I'd always try and look like really glam. Like I wanted to feel my best self going into the studio. I'd always like be really conscious of what outfits I wore, how I wore my hair, what makeup I had on, because I just really wanted to like embody my highest self going into the studio.
Can I ask you a question about that? Was that like, what has that always just been a theme in your life, or like did something inspire that, or
I think it comes down to I like to film and photograph while I'm working, and I really want to put out like my best self to the world. And I've noticed recently, so in the past maybe 2 or 3 years, when I've had my own studio and I'm like creating content for my Instagram and my TikTok alongside, I really like to have like consistency throughout. So I want people to know my personal style alongside my painting style, and I think it's just all like comes into play of building a brand, and how I do love fashion and I do care about how I present myself. So that's a big part of my process, is feeling the part going in. Like I've woke up today and I'm gonna be the best artist I can be, and I'm gonna start with how I feel about myself. I just think that's really important, because I don't think I've ever really painted like in like joggers and like
really, but because the reason I'm like, I find it so interesting is like, you would think like paint, it's messy, you would want to wear like your grubby clothes, so that you know what I mean.
No, I feel the complete opposite. Like every piece of clothing I own has paint on it now, but I just really like to feel good creating, and I think that means more than the end product is the feeling of creating and like embodying the artist that I want to be. And I've seen a lot of artists, they have like overalls, or probably something that I should do, but I like to have like a nice outfit while I'm painting. And I remember I did this really, really messy abstract painting where I was literally like throwing black paint everywhere, and I had on this little cream dress, and I remember I posted it on TikTok and everyone was absolutely outraged that I was painting this crazy messy painting in a cream dress, and I was just like, chill, like it's fine, don't worry about it.
Because I always wondered if you did the shoots for your stuff like on specific days where you got ready, and I'm like, oh, she can't like make art and wear the outfit, but it's like, no, you literally show up like that every day, which I think is so cool.
I try to, and I feel like, especially if I wake up and I'm having like a bit of a morning, like I'm not really feeling up to it, as soon as I get ready, I feel like a different person. I feel like it puts me into the right headspace.
Yeah.
It just really does make a difference. Yeah. So I'll get ready and then I'll go and create the art, and I'll try and film it and stuff along the way, but sometimes it just doesn't, like, it doesn't work out the way that I want to film it, or I try not to put much pressure on creating the content, because it's not about that. It's about creating the art and putting that out there. It's so hard because without the content for TikTok and Instagram and stuff, that's where I get most growth in terms of like followers and audience. So I really struggle with just being an artist or being like a content creator, which I think in the future I'll not have to focus on that as much. I'll probably just have like someone that can come and do that for me, but at the minute it's kind of like I have to do both in order to grow as an artist in this society that we live in.
That is like something that I think you've done such a good job, and I think that's maybe why, like, from the minute I met you, it was like, oh no, like this girl's onto something. Like beyond you creating your own show, it was like your online presence, and like you really have built a brand. Like it's clear, like your branding is clear throughout, and it's like every day you're showing up, and it's like your marketing, things like that. And like I work in social media, and like I do social media management for other people, and I'm always like, oh wow, this is good. Like this is like she is on it. And so I do always think like it would be hard to find that balance, but at the same time, it's like if you want to build your dream life in the world that we're in, like even if it's just for the season of your life, like you said, like it is an important thing. But I honestly think that's why you've had so much success too. It's like you do such a good job at it.
Yeah, it's like I think a lot of artists just get lost in creating the art. Whereas if you do really want to be successful, especially as like a young like female artist, I think it was essential for me to like really just throw everything out there. And I know exactly what I want to put out. I know the vibe, like I know the kind of pillars of the brand. So it's not just about creating the art, it's about how you put it out there. It's about the message behind it and how you're going to connect with other people through the art. Otherwise, like, I think the stories that I put with the art are really what make it special. Like, a lot of people will connect with how I felt making it, and they're like, I feel that too. Or they'll look at it and they'll just like they'll really feel something, and I'll put that into words in the caption, and they'll be like, yes, that's how I feel too. And it's a connection through both the visual and the text, and when it all comes together, it's really special. And I think creating this brand or this business or whatever it is, I think it's exciting that people want to have a part of it by buying a print or buying a tote bag or buying a piece of clothing. Because you don't necessarily have to buy a large piece of art to be part of the brand and to be part of like the soulfulness that my art carries. There's so many different ways where you can like support artists, but I think the story is just at the heart of everything, because it really is that vulnerability again of me telling my own story through the paint, basically. Yeah. Or
through like any, like throughout your life, it's like whether it's through the artwork, through social media, but then also too like that's just how you live your life. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And it's all just about me figuring out who I want to be. And my style has changed so much. I feel like it changes with the seasons. And I sometimes think, are people gonna come with me this time? Like if I change things up? And I think you've just got to trust that the right people will come with you on the journey. And like in the summer, I went more to like my grungy side, and I did more like pink and red. And now in the winter, I'm going more to like my elegant side, and I'm doing like more earthly colors. And I'm just thinking, these are just so many like parts of me that I'm trying out until I don't know if we'll ever get to like an end result. It's just all part of evolving and growing as a person. So I think you've just got to trust that the right people will see you through the full way, because you're obviously going to change as you get older, as you have more experiences. And yeah, just I love seeing the evolution of things.
What would you say is one of the most difficult parts of creating your art?
I think it's difficult when I'm going through something and I don't necessarily feel the creativity within me, but I kind of know it'll have influence in the future. So if I'm going through like a hard time with like my mental health or my anxiety or something external has happened, I always feel like I'm knocked out of flow, and I hate being knocked out of flow, because like just before Christmas and I did the show and I've got the collaboration and I'm doing this big marketing thing, everything was just coming so easily. It was like just like water. It was just so natural. And then when it came to like Christmas time and I've been unwell, and that just massively has knocked me out of flow, and then moving the studio home, it's just been so much. And I've been struggling to create new stuff while my brain is so busy, because I'm thinking I need to do this, I need to do that. And then I know that these experiences will shape a lot of my art in the coming months, because that's just how it works. It just comes out in weird ways, and I'll probably do a painting and you'll see this past month's experience in that painting. But yeah, I really hate feeling like I want to create, but something's holding me back and I feel like stuck. I always try and create in different ways if I'm feeling that way, like do something on my iPad or do a new like brand concept, think about what photo shoot I'm gonna do. But there's absolutely nothing worse to me than feeling like I can't physically paint that day. Like when I've had this awful flu or whatever it's been, I physically couldn't paint, and it pained me because I just wanted to have like this like outlet, this expression, and my body was saying no. And I was like, please let me do it. I even tried a few times and it was like, no. So you just have to trust the timing of things and trust that the universe has always got a plan, even if you don't agree with it at the time.
With just like my life, I have really opened myself up more to like removing the judgment around creativity and let going of like the parameters of what I used to think was creativity. I used to think what you did is creative. Like just you are an artist because you're making like paint. But then it's like the more that I meet people and I learn about the world, I'm like, no, creativity is in everything.
Yeah.
And I've been with that, like with my podcast and whatever I'm doing with all this stuff is like I have this true fascination in talking to like creative people.
Yeah.
And one thing I often was asking them was like, do you think creativity is something that like, I know our intuition plays a huge role in it. And so it's like, do you just follow your intuition or are you constantly showing up every day, even when you're not feeling quote unquote creative? And you did briefly mention there on like, if you're not feeling like painting that day, you'll do other things, whether it's prep for a photo shoot or whatever. But like, is there anything you want to like add to that I
I think it is still important to keep that creative mind ticking. Even when I feel like I can't physically paint that day, I'll still do something that makes me feel like I'm creating. I just feel like it's like a muscle that you exercise. And if you don't use that muscle, it's not going to work. If you're not training it every day, you're not going to build. So I really try and do something to progress towards my goal every day. And I am like a big advocate for rest. And I also say this to Louis all the time. I say, like, if you work this hard, you need to also really rest. And it's something he struggles with because he's very like productive, like he just works all the time. Whereas I'm like, yeah, I'll do like 2 hours work, then I'll have a nap. Do you know what I mean? Just to keep myself in like
the best form almost.
The balance. I love balance. I love working on my business and then also creating like my dream life of where can I go on holiday, like where can I travel to. And I think me and Louis really work together well because he gets to travel a lot for his work and I can go with him and totally like it's still building as in our relationship. But I can sometimes just go for a week and like not think about my work, which I struggle to. But it's nice to have like a bit of respite and you come back with so much energy. Like, I'll come back after like a week away with him on tour and be like, right, I need to do this, this, and this, and just have like a total burst of like, this is what I need to do. Whereas if you work yourself so hard constantly, you're obviously going to burn out and you're going to be resentful and your body is going to force yourself to rest anyways. Yeah.
I feel like it's also just like one, it's such a gift that you can do that, like you said, because you can also like fully show up for him and be present with him and like attend those events. But then also too, maybe it's like because you are being present that you feel so rejuvenated when you come back, right? Because it's like you're not worrying about work, you're not thinking about it, and like I know you still are, but it's like you can maybe like drop more into that deeper, right?
Yeah, it's like having different parts of yourself and having different responsibilities as well. So I see myself as an artist, like that is a big part of my identity, is being like a creative person, running the business and making sure that I'm like making enough money so I can like live the life that I want off my art. And then I've also got like the side of me which just does want to completely relax. Like I love to relax and just like watch something on Netflix. Like that is such a big part of me. Like I really am just like quite a chilled, relaxed person. I just wanna just, you know, do nothing. And there's that quote of Eat Pray Love, my favorite. It's like the sweetness of doing nothing, and that really speaks to me because I love just doing absolutely nothing and just being, just like totally being within like my feminine energy, just to be myself without anything going on, just me and my thoughts, meditative, like, yeah.
Masculine, feminine energy, it's a topic that I love, and the more I learn about it, it's just completely changed my life. And even that's a whole, I've done episodes on it as well. And I know you in real life, and I know you like off camera and stuff, and it's like I really do think you are a really strong like embodiment of the feminine energy. But at the same time, like you do have this structure and you're creating this business of the masculine energy. So it's like I really, really, really struggle to find the balance. And like, I think I've been in my masculine because our society forces us into the masculine out of survival, etc. And just like experiences I've had, I've been forced to do so. And then also too, it's like, it's hard when you are going down an unconventional path and you want to create this life and you want to build it. It's like, you do kind of need to show up and like, I don't know, push back if I'm being incorrect, but like when you don't want to, right? So that you can almost like dig yourself out of this like trench of like what I would say is like, to me, a trench is like a 9 to 5, not pursuing my passion. That's a trench for me, right? And so digging myself out of that, I need to push when I maybe don't want to, but it's also like, okay, so I think I've told you it's like I've started just like creating art like just for fun on my own. And you talking about doing nothing, it's like, so since I've moved to England, I've moved to a small town and it's really sleepy. And for the first time, like probably twice a month, I will have days where I literally do nothing. And like, that is what I'm doing that day. And I find they are so rejuvenating and do bring this like creative like rush, like unintentionally, like unprovoked. And it's been so impactful. And so I'm just saying, like, I related to what you were saying about like this deep rest. So my question, I guess, is what I'm trying to say after my tangent is, how do you find the balance?
I think it's just like trusting your body every day. Like if my body is telling me to go nap, without a single shadow of a doubt, I will go nap for 3 hours and not feel bad about it. I will not feel bad, like, because I know that I'm doing everything I can to build this dream that I've got and like that I know that I need to fulfill in this lifetime. And I also have to listen to this physical body that I'm in to say, yeah, you can do that this morning, but this afternoon, like you're resting. So I think it's so important to really like listen to your body, just because like it will tell you exactly what it needs, like in a whereabouts way. And you know, I think there's just nothing more lovely than just being on your own doing nothing. And
agreed.
It's one of like life's like sweetest pleasures, I think, is just having nothing to do. Just thinking, I'm going to make myself a cup of tea. I'm going to watch what I want to watch. I'll have a nap if I want to. Like, that is the other part of the dream, the freedom to do exactly what you want to. To even like, I just love like wholesome experiences, even if that is taking a day off to go and find new inspiration, go and eat some like really good food, or go to a museum, or go to like a music show. Isn't that just what brings you to life? And it's like, although everyone puts so much pressure on success, to me, that is ultimate success, is just to have the freedom to live in such a beautiful, fulfilling way with like no drama, just to live with ease and flow. And that's making me feel like really like warm inside, because that is all that I want in this life, is just to to be able to live in a wholesome way and just have like beautiful experiences and create beautiful experiences for other people. And I think that's a big part of my art is connecting and to create a beautiful experience for people. And you know, yeah, I am like such an advocate for feminine energy, and it is hard to find the balance between both, because when I am in that deep masculine energy, I forget what feminine energy is. Like, I forget to eat, I forget to sleep, like I just totally ignore my body. I think that's why I try and ground myself in the feminine, and then I like sprinkle a bit of masculine here and there so I can actually get my work done.
Do you, like, when you say you ground yourself in the feminine, like, is there things that you, like, specific things that you do to do that?
I would just say my naps are like the huge one. Mm-hmm. I am a serial napper, not gonna lie, and I always have been. I just love sleep. And
it's important. This isn't crazy to me. I'm like,
I just think it's so, like, it's the ultimate rest, isn't it? Yeah. And I will, as I said, I'll not feel bad about napping every day. Mm-hmm. And I can feel it if I have a nap that day. It's like, I feel like a child sometimes, but I think that's good. Mm-hmm. When you go back to like that child version of yourself, instead of thinking, oh, but I haven't done the washing up, I need to go and do that. I'm thinking, no, that can wait. I'm going to have my little nap now, and I'm just going to look after myself.
I need more of that in my life. And I first off, it's like nice to just always have the reminders, but then as someone who it's like, I love what you're doing, and like, I really resonate with what you're doing. I feel like we have, like, in our own ways, like we have very similar like perspectives on some things. Definitely. And so it's like, it's validating that it doesn't need to be hard. And like, I recorded this podcast with this woman named Lisa, and I remember she said, she's like a comedian, she's retired now. And she was like, go where it's warm. And it was just like a general phrase, but it's something that like really I think of often, whether it's like a decision of like, okay, should I go down this path or that path? Should I let go of this client or whatever? Because I've had made those decisions like recently, and it is like what feels good, what feels warm inside. And I always connected that kind of to like that feminine like intuition, and but it's been really hard for me to find that balance.
Yeah. And I really love that too. Go where it's warm. Mm-hmm. That is just everything. Like, because I feel like people get into real ruts and struggles when they don't listen to themselves. And I think that is like such a big thing. I think that's when your mental health can spiral. That's when you feel like you're not in alignment. That's when things start to feel really wrong, is when you stop going where it's warm. Mm-hmm. And just because it can be for all sorts of reasons, you can feel like you should do certain things. I think it's just so important just to go where it's warm. I really love that.
Right?
Yeah.
I think of it all the time. First off, I want to acknowledge another thing that I find super admirable. I don't know if that's going to be the right word, but something that I've been leaning into more, honestly, just in the past few weeks. And it's been interesting to focus my attention on something more and see kind of like straight away the impact it is having on me. Usually like I'll implement something or like a perspective shift, and it usually takes me a little bit, but I'm already seeing like these shifts within myself, and it's just self-belief. Mm-hmm. And like I talked to you off camera about how like in the month of December, and honestly it wasn't just December, it was like 6 months leading up to it. It was like a cumulative time, and December was kind of the breaking point. Like I just felt like I kind of like lost a bit of myself. It was just anyways. And I realized I'm like, I have no self-belief. I'm out there like helping other people create their dream and build their dream, which is an honor to be a part of. Mm-hmm. And I learn a lot. But I'm like, at the end of the day, like I gotta believe in myself. And so I want to say I really respect your self-belief, and I'm sure it's like not like we all have our doubt and things like that. And kind of related, but kind of pivoting, my question here is like, what do you wish to accomplish with your art?
That's a very big question. I feel like I've always had like the vision and the goals are like quite set in my mind of the thing that I want to accomplish is to inspire others to take like their own creative path, whatever that may be, whether they want to be a chef, a filmmaker, produce podcasts or whatever. I just really want to make people know that you can be yourself and it's possible. And as long as you do have that deep-rooted self-belief, you can and you will make it. And I've recently followed this person on Instagram who like has written a book on manifestation. Mm-hmm. And he like hammers home the fact that if you have like this burning desire and this true vision that you want to fulfill, it is within your capability as a human to do that. And that is the reason why you've been put on this planet. And I think it's just like what I want to do is just to inspire like those 14-year-old girls in their bedroom who don't have a clue what they're doing. I want them to look on my Instagram and think, I can go and be an artist like how those other women, those tattoo artists did for me. Yep. And I think just thinking about having that effect on someone's life just makes me feel like I've done my job. And creativity, whatever that may be, whether that's art, whether that's whatever, whether it's through words or through other like visual forms, I think just invoking emotion and to let people know that it's okay to feel that way. Like I've got such a thing for cinematography and for like certain movies that really like touch my soul, and I want to have that effect on other people through like my passion. And there's so many films that I've watched that just kind of like hit me in a way that I've never felt before, but I know that it's there.
Can you name some? I'm curious.
So when I was growing up, my favorite film was a film called Palo Alto.
I've heard of it.
Right. And it's got James Franco in it. And it's just like, it's just like a strange film. It's about kind of like coming of age, and it's like a group of teenagers kind of trying to be who they are, but kind of like trying to fit in at the same time. And it's quite dark. And I remember watching it a lot, just because I felt like it showed me how I was feeling without being able to express it. And especially at that time when you're a teenager and things are so weird. Things are so weird. And there's all this kind of like weird shit going on that you're not really sure whether it's good or bad. And you'll grow up later and find out, yeah, that wasn't good. You'll think about it when you go to sleep and you're like, what on earth?
Yeah.
It's just kind of got like this naivety about it, which I didn't know at the time, but that's exactly what I was. A naive, like, small girl. And I often think about her now and I'm like, are you all right? And I think this is a big thing, especially being a woman, is I struggle with like being naive as a young girl. And I think about it often. And I think there's just certain pieces of art and certain pieces of music, certain films that I watch that I'm like, that is how I feel. And I did not know how to express that, because how could I when it is not being presented to me? And yeah, I really just want to make people feel like it's totally okay to be like a messy, complex human. Everyone's got their deep stories, but you can still be like this expressive, like being of light. And you use all of these experiences to elevate you and to go to the next step. So that's kind of what I want to do.
Yeah. It's beautiful.
Thanks.
Thank you so much. I can't wait for us to talk again.
I know, it's been so good. Like, this conversation has like filled my cup. Like, I feel so excited again.
Awesome.
So
beautiful. I always hope, like, obviously, like, the podcast is a way for me to learn more about the other person, me to like us to connect just human to human. It's a new way for like whether you have an audience or not, for people, just the world to see you from a different way. A time for reflection. But it's also like I hope that like we don't do this often, right? Like as humans, like I think you and I do because we're very like
we're that kind of people.
Yes. But it's just a space for you to kind of just reflect and like unpack kind of like your journey. So thank you for sharing.
Yeah, thank you for having me on. It's been so good.